Welcome everybody to day 2 of the Pivot Project. I'm Megan, if we haven't met before, and this is a week-long series MeAnchor is putting on to make sure we're providing you with all of the resources to take your business successfully from where it is now to pivoting to be an online business. So today we are going to go ahead and look at actual pivots that have happened in other companies to give you some inspiration and to make sure you feel confident and to give you the idea that this can truly be done. So if you didn't download the worksheet from today's email, it's in the link to this description here. We are streaming live across Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and I would love to know who's here. So in the comments below, let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know what industry you're in. And if you're in the middle of the pivot, we would love to hear what you're doing. Go ahead and ask questions during this. We will do our best to get back to people in real time. If not, I promise to give you some comments afterwards. But let's dive in today to the slides that are going to focus all about real life pivots. So some IRL pivots that we're going to go over today, first and foremost, are really going to help you because there's this concept when you're starting to pivot from one atmosphere and one concept to another called parallel play. And this is something borrowed from preschoolers, actually. So when preschoolers are starting to learn new concepts and play with new toys, they don't actually play together. They play alone, but they watch what everyone else is doing around them. They play parallel. They build their own castle over here, and Tommy's building his own castle over here, but they get ideas from each other by watching what's going on, by using and adapting the strategies that they see working, and then iterating from there to get their own unique style. We can learn a lot from preschoolers here when we're taking our business and pivoting it, because truly you don't want to pay super close attention to your competition all the time. You don't want to be playing with them all the time, right? You need to differentiate yourself. And this idea of parallel play for picking and choosing what's working for people can work really well for your business. So that's one of the reasons that we wanted to give you some in real life examples. So take what you think would work for your pivot and utilize these things and take that concept of parallel play to iterate on your ideas to get the strongest pivot for your business. Truly, as you know, social media is our expertise here at MeAnchor. We are a social media automation tool. So today I'm going to actually chat with you about how a lot of the major social media networks made some pivots at the beginning here. We'll then dive into some more pivots that are going on right now amidst of what's going on in the world today. But I thought it would be really interesting to start out like this to give you the idea that at any time in your business, it is going to be an okay time to pivot. These skills that you're learning now can actually help you way down the road in the future, even if you're not someone who's pivoting right now. So Twitter was actually called Audio when it began. It was a network where people could find and subscribe to podcasts. Once they realized that iTunes was going to corner the market in this, they pivoted to being a more micro-blogging site that it is today. Another social media network that went through a pivot early on was Pinterest. They were actually branded as a company called Tote, in which people actually purchased and were alerted about sales from retailers until they realized that their community really just wanted to collect things and share those collections of what they loved with their friends and family. So they pivoted to be Pinterest. Next is YouTube. YouTube actually started as a video-based dating app. How weird, right? People would upload profiles and short videos of who they were, what they were seeking in a partner, and then they would browse potential matches. Then they pivoted to being YouTube as they know it today. Instagram also went from a pivot. They were actually a check-in app much more similar to Foursquare. They then realized that people didn't necessarily want the extra clutter that was going on with all of the location check-in. What they wanted was to share the beautiful photos of these places where they were at. So they simplified, they cut, they pivoted, and they're Instagram today. Last but not least, MeAnchor. We actually, as a social media automation tool, have our own pivot story in that the founder, Laura Roeder, had her own educational business to start with. Once she actually needed a tool like MeAnchor for herself because she was spending too much time posting on social media and not enough time working on the educational materials herself, she pivoted to constructing this software and making this available to other people. Her initial community who knew knew her as an educator, trusted her so much because she did so much work building that community and building her expertise in that community, that they were hungry and ready to buy once she made the pivot into being a SaaS company. That is the power of having an audience that trusts you. So when this pivot happens, they are ready to buy from you. I want you to also get in your head, before we look at some more examples, that there's this idea called the sunk cost fallacy. And that is that we pour so much into the projects that we're doing that we don't want to abandon them. If something in your business is not working right now, but you've spent a lot of time on it, don't get trapped in this sunk cost. Don't make sure that you're just continuing pouring resources into something that's not resonating with how the world is changing right now. The power of the pivot can work for your business, but you have to learn to let go of some of these projects and realize that it's not a failure if that project didn't work. It is a mini lesson for you. Truly, if you talk to a lot of startup founders, the message that they tell you is every single past startup that failed for them is a huge lesson for them. It's basically like they went to business school while they were creating this startup, right? So don't look at the idea that if something previously in your business failed and you need to make a pivot, that you're a bad business owner. Separate yourself from that idea. You are not the bad business owner. The market was just letting you know that's not what it needs right now. So don't get caught in the sunk cost fallacy. We can pivot no matter what industry you're in. If you have developed a following and you've developed traction and you can continue going forward, a pivot is possible for you. So let's look at some ideas that people are doing right now that you can get some inspiration from. I love this idea of bartenders right now are actually offering their services for some virtual bartending lessons. So they cannot make money right now in their original craft, obviously. So look what some of these people are doing. I love this one especially here because he's offering this as a team building activity. A lot of remote work teams have situated themselves where everyone knows how to work remotely now, right? Like the tech side is figured out. But what's not figured out is how to keep your team morale high during this period. This bartender saw that opportunity to hop on Zoom with companies and give them a little virtual happy hour since they can't go out and bond like that in real life. People are hungry for these real life experiences. What can your brand do that you have an expertise in that could be used in a virtual space that you might not have thought of before? Remember parallel play. Look at what other people in other industries are doing. Think about your own talents and how that can be adapted to your expertise. Another idea that I love is rather than pivoting your entire business, you can pivot an idea in your business, like the delivery mode. There is a wine shop right now who has a really rad black lab who actually carries the wine bottles people order out to people's cars. What an absolutely amazing word of mouth system they have going on, right? If you had a dog deliver your wine to your car, would you not take a picture and share that all over social media? So get creative and start to pivot the way that you're actually delivering your product or service. It's super exciting as an opportunity to think about what's been working in the past and what experiences you can provide your customers right now that would bring a smile, that would bring happiness or joy. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again, we are all in the business of selling happiness. When people seek out a product or service, it is to provide them a feeling of joy. It is to provide them a feeling of relief. We want to feel good all the time. It is a basic human driving factor in our lives. So can you make your delivery system a little more happy right now and get that word of mouth marketing of people wanting to share how cool of a unique experience this is? Think about how you can pivot your marketing. There are coffee companies that I have never heard before. And let me tell you, I love my caffeine. I don't know if you can tell by the speed that I talk, but I do. I love my caffeine. And there are coffee companies that I have never heard about before that I'm hearing about right now because they are doing goodwill marketing campaigns of delivering their cold brew to first responders at hospitals for free. What an amazing way to align your brand with a good cause right now. And we know people buy on values. People purchase on things that really speak to their soul and speak to what they value right now. everyone you know is resonating with this idea that we're all in this together and that we are thanking our frontline workers. If you are a brand who can donate right now and do some good, obviously we want to put that good in the world, but share that out to your community. Let people know that you're doing this to get that to work for your business in your marketing. So think about creative ways you can pivot your marketing to what's going on and resonating right now. Other pivots that people are doing that are pretty cool is thinking about photographers. So obviously for photograph sessions, a lot of them have had to be canceled, right? So this photographer actually took the opportunity to think to herself, hey, what are people doing right now that they still want to create memories around? She sat down and she thought about her ideal audience persona, the person that she's serving, and she thought that they are still doing things on video. They are having Easter dinner with their families over Zoom. They are sitting down and creating new brands on social media. So her photography services are now used over Zoom. She is taking photos of families on Zoom, and she is helping people position selfies of themselves and virtually telling them how and where they should place the camera. She is looking at people's photos and doing critiques of how they could position things better, how the lighting could be better. She's educating people on how these photos can be used for your branding on social media if they're starting a new company. She's seeing people start up new side hustles in order to get through this time where they might have lost their job, and saw her skills of being able to brand photos really beautifully for them as something she could offer as value to the world. So think about these things again of what's going on in people's lives so you can pivot to fit into them. I also love this company, Keep Your City Smiling. It is an amazing new service that someone pivoted into right now because people are rallying around small businesses. We all have our heartstrings being tugged at these small businesses that are closed right now, right? So what this company did is that in every single small city, they set up an operation where they are sourcing products from these smaller retailers in the city and making care packages that people can send. So you can see here, it says keep LA smiling, keep NYC smiling, keep Portland smiling. And these boxes are filled with curated items just from small local businesses in that city. What a cool way to be able to send a little city love to someone from New York who might live in another city to you, or to as a birthday present. And this all goes into this idea that people want to support small businesses right now, and it's offering a really cool service to keep in touch with your friends and family who might be having birthdays or holidays, and you want to send them something unique from your city. They recognized an opportunity, they pivoted quickly in order to help society solve a problem and offer a little bit of a smile to the world. And those three key ingredients right now, you will never lose. Other ways that are really fun pivots going on right now are escape rooms. Obviously, we can't go into escape rooms right now, so they have pivoted to selling at-home mystery games. What a great experience, because we know families are looking for ways to keep their kids entertained. What could your business provide here? You know, I've seen other companies do things like travel companies create puzzles of beautiful photos from different travel places they've been to, send that out to families. People need to pivot in order to support working moms and dads right now who need to entertain their kids, right? So take these ideas into your own industry and think about this as a way of supporting what's resonating with people right now. Other cool things movie theaters around the nation are doing is they are selling huge, gigantic bags of popcorn and huge bags of candy that typically you only get at the movies. You know, I never see snow caps kind of sold out in real life, right? But I always like to get them at the movies, weirdly. It's a weird childhood nostalgia thing. But they're also doing things, if you buy this now, if you buy this fun at-home movie popcorn and movie candy from them now, they'll give you 2 free passes in order to go to the movies once things open up again. Think of your business as one that you want to continue doing, what you can pivot to now to offer people a future experience with you, to offer them that future value, but to also give them something tangible that they can get right now that would be valuable to them. Things that are really working well are the actual sales experience. So I saw this one jewelry company do a live auction on Facebook to actually auction off their jewelry rather than just having a set price on it. What a cool experience for the local jewelers there to go on Facebook Live and to actually explain the story behind that piece of jewelry and to make it a really fun interactive experience with other people. Connection is working so much right now. So if you're going to go onto this auction, you're going going to feel like you're in the room bidding with other people in the live chat, right? That is providing people a connection experience, which they're craving right now. So what an awesome way to drive traffic to your social media site and to get that sales experience so much more fun. Other things that hair salons and hairdressers are doing right now is they are packaging up their experience. They are packaging up their knowledge. They are becoming knowledge brokers, essentially, and they are selling online classes to people to either do this at home themselves, how to give yourself an at-home manicure, or they're teaching aspiring hairdressers some tips of the trade right now. So a lot of hairdressers might not be able to actually enroll in cosmetology school, right? But you, as a seasoned hairdresser, as a seasoned salon, can actually offer the product of your knowledge. People will pay for that right now because they want that jump start when things get back up, that they have some trade secrets that they can employ right away. Everyone knows something. You have something inside of you that you know how to do, and being able to teach that in your own unique style and being able to reach people who resonate with the way you teach and the way that you talk and the stories that you have is going to be invaluable for your business. So even if you're not looking to pivot right now, I would encourage you to look for ways that you can package up the information in your head and get it out into the world. Secret recipe books. This is a really cool one that some restaurants are starting to do, is they are actually opening up their tried and true secret recipes that are some of their best dishes that people want to know how they make them. Usually they wouldn't tell people how they make them because they want people to come get them in the restaurant, right? But right now they need to generate more income. So they're making ebooks and PDFs of their secret recipes to send people that people can purchase. A really cool thing that you could do if you're a restaurant right now is if you do this, send it out, or if you're doing anything that you're sending a newsletter out to people, have a virtual tip jar set up so that people can donate and tip to your wait staff. People are hungry to help right now. You just need to give them the opportunity to do so. Gyms, obviously online fitness classes are something people are craving because they need that instruction and that accountability in order to jump on a workout at home. Don't underestimate the fact that accountability is an offer that is going to provide value that you can charge for. So even if you think, hey, that person is probably just YouTubing a workout video for free, if people pay, they pay attention and they show up. And that is something that a lot of us know and a lot of us will participate in. Other things that gyms are doing right now is they're making really cool t-shirts like this one here that has a stay back 6 feet thing on hand print on it there that people are selling in order to allow people to run with that safe message on it. So again, resonating with what's going on now, pivoting to what's going on in the world right now, and offering it value. Art galleries, they are doing tours of the actual artists going into the gallery one at a time, live streaming their paintings or live streaming what's on their walls and telling a story behind it. This is a great thing for you to be able to actually get a value that you wouldn't have got if you went in real life to that art gallery and the artist wasn't there and you were just looking at the photos alone. So this is an added bonus that is actually pretty cool, because if you're going to purchase a piece of art, to know that story straight from the artist's mouth is a huge value add. Repurposing what you already have. So if you're not afraid that you don't have a great idea to pivot right now, you've got stuff that you can sell right now. We have a ton of blog posts here at MeAnchor on social media and especially on blogging. What we actually have done with this is captured all of the different tips in our hundreds of blog posts about blogging, and we made it into a beautifully curated ebook that's called our secret blogging formula. So we're not actually selling this, but this is a lead magnet that we have. So a lead magnet, essentially, people are going to enter their email address and we will email them this PDF. It is one way that we grow our newsletter and our email marketing list. What this is really great for, and you might be saying, Megan, people could just go on your blog and get this information. Why would they hand over their valuable email address? Well, because we've saved them time and curated all of the tips that are across maybe 20 different blog posts that they would have to search through, and we've put them into one PDF. People will pay if you package something succinctly and if you package something in a way that it's going to save them time. So look at the content you already have. Look at the knowledge you already have. How can you package that so that people don't have to go out and search for that information, that they don't have to watch an hour-long YouTube video because you've sent them a PDF, it can get up and running so quickly too. Don't get afraid of the tech, don't let the tech steal your dreams, essentially, in the way that you're saying, I don't know how to set that up. You don't need a lot. All you need is an email address, truly, and a PayPal account. People could email you to get it. You can email them back a PayPal link. Once you get their payment, you can email them the PDF. It's not the most beautiful and elegant system, but it will work to get you cash flow right away when you're doing pivots like this. I always want you to think about it in the sense that it comes down to asking, who is my customer? Who's my audience? What do they value? And how can we offer that at the right price? These are the 3 questions I need you to be asking yourself as you're making that pivot. Because the alignment of who your audience is and the product that you're going to offer is super important. If you have an audience full of moms and you're going to then pivot into a business that has nothing to do with what moms care about, the market match is not going to be there for you. But you can do things like the $4,000 Easter basket pivot. Let me tell you about this one. It's pretty cool. I heard it on a podcast the other day, and this mom blogger actually needed a way that she could make some money, and she identified the fact that Easter was essentially not going to be something that people are going to be celebrating out in the real world. So she offered her email list hand-delivered Easter baskets and hand-delivered Easter hunts hidden like in their front yard. She ended up making $4,000 in one day because so many people wanted one of her beautifully crafted Easter baskets. You have audience, if you have your audience in mind, and if you know the personality of who's in your audience and what they want, your possibilities are endless for speaking into what's going on in their life right now and the needs that they have. Saving people time, saving people money, providing people joy and happiness. You can never go wrong if your pivot is centered around those things. I also really want to reiterate this idea that when you are starting to think of your pivot and putting this into a place, you need to do so in a sense of calm and alignment. Don't get frantic and just start throwing spaghetti against the wall, right? You need to do this in a sense that you're aligned with your customers' values, you're aligned with your own values, because this needs to be something you're going to pour your heart and soul into and feel passionate about learning and getting through. And you don't need something that is going to be presented to people in a sense of chaos right now. Because in times of uncertainty, we really crave consistency. We crave a powerfully, confidently delivered message. So take a deep breath and align with your values there. There is truly untapped potential inside of you if you think about your audience. So don't let your limiting beliefs stop you. I'm going to harp on this in every single live stream this week because I think a lot of us think, I can't do that. Look at that other person winning. I can't be like them. And that's so not true. And I am nerdy enough to remind you that inspiration, motivation, and your mindset truly matter, especially during a pivot right now. So make sure you're in the right alignment and the right calm state to intentionally start this pivot. And truly, that classic startup story that you hear in almost every single founder's interviews when they're talking about the beginning stages of when they started their company, people say things like, we honestly didn't know what we were doing. We just pushed forward. You need to start before you are ready and be upfront with people. People crave transparency online right now. People crave you to be honest and relatable. Don't think you have to be perfect. No one's expecting perfection, especially right now. People are expecting you to be upfront with what's going on. We love transparency and we want that from the businesses we do business with. So be upfront about how you're pivoting. Document it, share it with your audience, and you'll gain their trust so much faster. I want to end on this idea that if you're still struggling to come up with your pivot, how you can get outside of what's kind of called functional fixation. And that is to think a little bit differently. And this idea comes from a classic psychology experiment. That's essentially when they give groups of people things, they ask someone to fix a candle, to light and fix a candle on the wall so the candle wax does not drip. I explained that really poorly there. So what they're trying to do is give people these 3 different materials: the candle, a book of matches, and a box of thumbtacks. And they're telling people to fixate the candle to the wall so that the wax does not drip on the table. If you see these 3 things, Oftentimes people are just going to start to kind of light the candle and the wax and try to stick the wax to the wall. That doesn't work very well. People are going to try to start to thumbtack the candle to the wall. That's not going to prevent the wax from dripping. But when you can actually get outside of this functional fixation, what works is emptying the box of thumbtacks, using the thumbtacks to nail the box to the wall, putting the candle into the box, and lighting the candle with the match. So you can see if you're only seeing that box as a function to hold the tacks and not as a function to hold the candle, you're going to miss the most elegant way of solving this problem. So what is it in your business right now that you have functional fixedness on? What is it that you are only seeing that box in your business as a vehicle to hold the tacks rather than as a vehicle to hold the candle? You've got something. I know you do. We all do inside of us. So don't let that functional fixedness limit your value there. If you have your idea and you want to kind of mull on it a little, something that I really recommend doing that works well for me is getting that idea, journaling about it a little, and then starting to consume content around that idea. Why this works so well is because our brains have a filtration system that's called the reticular activating system. And what this does is obviously there is so much information thrown at us during a day, but if our brain is actually primed to know, hey, I'm only looking for information to solve this one problem, it's going to start picking out the information that is going to lead to solving that problem. And it's going to filter out all of the rest of the mess. So that's another thing that you can really use to your advantage of saying, hey, I need to make sure that I'm being crystal clear on my intention and my goals on this pivot so that everything I'm consuming and so that everything I'm curating and putting into my brain is being processed in this way that is going to lead towards the pivot. And you really need to see things in a way that if you're getting resistance from anyone online when you make this pivot, or if you're getting resistance or disagreement from your family, that's actually a good thing sometimes. So if your followers or if your friends or everyone is not agreeing with you, flip that script and look at this as a way of saying, okay, I'm creating a niche that's a little polarizing. Why this is so good is because if everyone agrees with your idea, likely it's too broad of an idea to work. If some people have resistance towards it, and if some people are disagreeing with it and others are agreeing with it, that is actually a key that you've probably hit on something that can create a strong community because it hits on people's identities and their values. So don't let the voices of a couple of people resisting your idea or a couple of people disagreeing with your pivot idea stop you from researching it and moving it forward. If you've got a small core audience who does latch onto this, it's going to get that momentum and you're going to find more people like them who are attracted to your message, who are attracted to your pivot. The rest of them, you don't need them there anyway. Remember, a small, tight-knit audience is way better than a large, lukewarm audience. And it's truly all about the process. When you're going throughout this pivot, please don't think that you are only getting there to achieve the outcome. The process is what you have to enjoy, and it is what is going to bond your community. This is one of the reasons that we talk so much about documenting what's going on as you're pivoting, because if your community can actually feel like they're building this new company and this new structure and this new pivot with you, they are going to be so much more excited when it actually happens. This is kind of akin to the fact that if you're climbing a mountain, think about all the hours, the blood, sweat, and tears that go into going up. You're on the summit for perhaps 2 minutes. What you talk about and what is meaningful to the people who are climbing that mountain with you was the struggle, was going up the mountain, and that is what you guys talk about, and that is what bonds you together. Same thing with communities. They are built during these times that they think, wow, I went through this struggle with them. I saw them build this up. I gave them feedback when they shared on social media 2 different logo selections that they were going through. I gave them feedback for the one that I liked more. I helped build this community. Don't underestimate the power on that of including people in your process and enjoying that process as a company building structure just as much as the final outcome. I'm going to leave you on one of the most inspirational pivots that I have seen while researching this, which is Nona here. She is 84 years old, and she lives in the countryside of Italy, one of the hardest hit places during this pandemic, right? What Nona usually does is she teaches traditional cooking to people who come out to the countryside and cook with her. Obviously, with things shutting down and social distancing, she couldn't teach these classes in person. She, at 84 years old, did not miss a beat. And look what her website says now. Cook pasta with Nona and family live. She is live streaming her cooking classes. So you have no excuse. If Nona at 84 years old found a way to pivot her business online, use that as inspiration to take yours there as well. And truly dream big, guys. If you dream big, you can pivot bigger. Imagine what people would think 30 years ago about doing live streams like this, or how the online learning industry is going to be $20 billion a day in the next 10 years. We could not imagine something like that 30 years ago. And it is in times of constraint that people's creativity comes out and that people really, truly want to make these innovations. And there's no reason that your company could not be a part of that. So set a launch date for your pivot. Just do it. Setting a date and having that accountability is one of the strongest things you can do to get your dream of a pivot off the ground. In truly conventional rules of space and time are thrown out the window right now. We do not need to follow the same structure of how to launch a business right now because those rules do not apply. Things are way different now. So you need to remember that you can make up your own rules and your own timeline for this. If you do not make this, I'm going to Michael Scott you right now if you're an Office fan. If you do not make your pivot happen, no one's going to buy it. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. If you're an Office fan, I hope you got that reference there. And truly, don't let fear hold you back from making your commitment to your community and making this pivot happen. If you're a little afraid, I want you to shift your focus and remind yourself it's about your followers. It's about the offering that you have for them through your pivot and how you can really make their life better. Honestly, when I started out doing things like these live streams, I was a little fearful of being on camera. What really helped me shift that perspective in my mind was reminding myself this has nothing to do with me. It does not matter if I'm wearing makeup. It does not matter what I look like. What matters is the message that I'm providing to the community. When you shift your focus on your community, you get way less held back by your own fears and your own insecurities. So make a bold choice to remind yourself every single day that you're working on your pivot that this is for your community. As you are going throughout this too, I want you to remind yourself that you are superior to what's going out there because you're the only unique voice saying these things. When you are going into new markets or new pivot spaces, it's really nice for you to present yourself as a better option to something that already exists. So when you're marketing your pivot, can you find a substitute that you're for? A really classic example of this is Uber in the taxi industry. So Uber obviously had a challenge of making sure people trusted the service that they were providing. So they positioned themselves in a relationship to, hey, I am a superior service to the taxi industry. This was a really powerful message out there because people already understood the value of what a taxi did, right? They didn't really understand the value of what a car-to-go service like Uber would do, but they knew what a taxi did in their life. By positioning themselves in parallel to that, they were able to get people to understand how they were superior to a taxi service because they had that baseline value established already. So think about the ways if you are going into a new market that you can compare yourself to something that already fits into your followers' lives. Because if you feel like you're having to re-explain a concept to people, it's often going to be pretty hard for them to put a value on it if they've never heard about it before. So think about the ways that you can kind of substitute in something they already understand. All right, awesome being with you today. I'm super stoked to go along with the Pivot projects, with the Pivot project further this week. So go ahead and let me know how you guys are pivoting in the comments. Go ahead and let us know what you're liking, what's resonating with you. And like I said, we will be live all week doing these, and I'm super stoked that I get to spend this time with you guys. I hope you have a fantastic evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.